Shalom, this is YAHAWAH with Lions Roar. I just want to go over some things about vanity. Okay, some of the things that we do with these different breakdowns or different doctrines of tribes. A lot of the times it could go into vain things or vanity. But first and foremost, let's go to Jeremiah chapter 6 and 16. Jeremiah 6 and 16. When you read Jeremiah 6 and 16, it says, "Thus saith the Most High, stand ye in the ways, and see, and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein." Now this is our people not walking in the ways of the scriptures. But when you read this again, it says, "Stand ye in the ways and see." What's the ways? The old paths are the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. Okay, and it says, "And ask for the old paths, where is the good way?" Because when you look through the scriptures has history in it. It also has heritage in it. It has identity in it. It has salvation in it. So you have to understand when you're going through the old paths that you're going to have to search out other things as well. Your main source is always the Bible. You filter everything through the scriptures, as I say it time and time again. But the Most High has given us a clue. Search ye of the old paths. Okay? See how our people lived in those days of old. And see how balanced they were as a people. You know, there were a lot of brothers and sisters, when they didn't keep the law, statutes, and commandments, they were very unbalanced. When they followed the ways of the heathens, they were very unbalanced. And we have to look at the scriptures and understand what it's saying. Okay, I want to go to another verse. Let's go to Job 22. Job 22 verse 12. And it reads, "Is not the Most High in the height of heaven? And behold, the height of the stars, how high they are. And thou sayest, how doth the Most High know? Can he judge through the dark clouds?" What a lot of brothers say and see. It says, "Thick clouds are a covering to him that seeth not, and he walketh in the circuit of heaven. Hast thou marked the old way which wicked men have trodden?" Are you going to start following the old ways of the wicked? We are asking ourselves, being in the truth, is the Most High not taking note of what's going on earth? Of course he is. But to a lot of you brothers who don't believe in the Most High, you search out the ways of the wicked men versus the ways of the Most High. And you hold the wicked men's doctrine to you like glue. And you can't decipher. You can't understand how the Most High throws little things in there. Then he created all things, so he's going to put mysteries within everything for Israel's sake. Okay, let's read on. "Hast thou marked the old way which wicked men have trodden, which were cut down out of time, whose foundation was overflown with a flood?" Now this is not talking about the flood of water. This is talking about the flood of wars. This is talking about the flood of ignorance, confusion. Okay, when you look at Egypt was a strong, prominent nation. What happened to them? You look at some of these other countries like Persia and the Medes. They were a strong country. What happened to them? The Greeks, they're still here. This is the time that the Most High returns and what? Takes them out. We're living in those days. But when you look at all the other nations that ruled, okay, the Assyrians and the Moabites and the Ammonites, when they all ruled, how did they get taken out? By a flood. Even when you read some of their books, they call the armies floods, like a flood of an army. So we have to understand that when we're doing research, we have to, like I said, use the scriptures to understand what you're reading in man's history books. You can't ignore what man writes, but you can have a decipher in mind when you read his books. So let's look at I wanted to talk about when you look at the word Indian. Okay, the word Indian has been around since the days of the Greeks and even before that. Okay, so a lot of brothers get that word mistakenly when they say Indian. They just look at a person. No, that word has been around a long time. A lot of the times when you look in the book of Josephus, Josephus speaks about Indians. Okay, and normally when he speaks about Indians, guess who he's talking about? He's talking about the 10 tribes. Okay, he talks about the 10 tribes because he labels them as those who don't believe. Okay, or who have went away or astray. So the 10 tribes were called Indians even in those days. I'm gonna go to an insert of Josephus, and this is called, now let me tell you the title of my Josephus. For those of you who don't watch this channel, maybe tuning into this video, this is called The New Complete Works of Josephus, translated by William Whiston, commentary by Paul L. Mayer. But when you look at this book, if you have the same exact book that I have, I don't know which edition this is. It says Revised and Expanded Edition. If you go to page 930 of Book 7, Chapter 8, and it's in, let's see, it's in section 350 and 351. I started 351. It says, "We therefore who have been brought up in a discipline of our own ought to become an example to others of readiness to die. Yet if we do stand in need of foreigners to support us in this matter, let us regard those Indians who profess the exercise of philosophy." So they were calling people who were not in the faith foreigners. So the 10 tribes, they were considered foreigners. What do you think the word Gentile means? That's what it means. Foreigners, aka Indians. Alright? So people don't understand where the word originally comes from. It comes from those who went away from the faith. And if Josephus is mentioning them, Josephus was from the tribe of Judah. He's mentioning of the 10 tribes. Okay? So the word Indian has always been in the scriptures. Well, so not the word Indian, but actually the 10 tribes being Gentiles. Okay, during this time of Josephus, this is when the Greeks came into power and the Romans, and their words started to take prominent across all lands. Okay, so he used the word, instead of saying Gentile, he used the word Indian. Okay. It says, "Of life, and look upon it as a necessary servitude, and hurry to let their souls loose from their bodies. Nay, when no misfortune presses them to it, nor drives them upon it, these have such a desire of life, of immortality, that they tell other men beforehand that they are about to depart. And nobody hinders them, but everyone thinks them happy men, and gives them letters to be carried to the familiar friends that are dead." All right, so this is going into the Indians. Let me see, where is it at? Okay, so the word Indian meant foreigner. That's what it meant. It didn't mean anything derogatory like they say now. Okay, like Indios or savages or anything like that. It just meant Gentile, someone who's of who lost the faith. Okay. Giving you some background on where that word also come from, I want to go into a little history dealing with the Persians and the Medes. As we know that the Persians and the Medes controlled most of the eastern world, which we call Asia today, and parts of Africa, right? So when you look at the Persians, Xerxes and Darius, who were the kings during that time, they conquered all of that land. They conquered India, they conquered Pakistan, they conquered Afghanistan, they conquered Myanmar, Saudi, parts of Iraq, not so much Saudi Arabia, but parts of Iraq. They conquered all the way to the Sahara Desert, okay, which is in North Africa. So all of that encompassed all of the things of Persia. When they went into parts of Iran and Afghanistan and Pakistan, they ran into a river which is called the Sindhu River. It's always been called the Sindhu River. Okay, so what happened over time, the S dropped. It was pronounced Hindu or Hindustan. This is the land where the river flows. So people there were known, all those people there were known as Hindu. That's what the word Hindu, and it eventually became a religion. So the Greeks turned around and called it something else after a while. They called it Indus. When we talk about the West Indies is a part of what I just spoke on. If India compassed all the way to the Sahara Desert, those little islands were considered to be part of that continent as well, which was the West Indies. That's why it's not a country. They're just little isles, little islands, okay, over here in the West Indies. But it's all a part of that. Because back then, there was really two great continents, and that was Africa and that was Asia, okay? But back then it wasn't called Asia, it was called Persia. So Hindustan is the name which came into existence. Like I said, it extended to Sahara Desert, down to Myanmar, and to the Himalayas, and to the Indian Ocean. It covered the oldest and largest civilization of the world in the Indus Valley civilization. When the British came in, they started changing things into other things. They started marking history as being their history, and they started leaving certain things out and adding certain things to make their history glorious. So we got to understand, the British, they didn't conquer India before they conquered the American West Indies. They conquered the West Indies first. Then they went over to India. People don't understand history. British, French, the Spaniards, they all came to America first to conquer. Not India. The Greeks conquered that area, but when the European nations broke down, the British, the Spaniards, the French, the Russians, and all these other countries, they came to the West first to conquer. So we got to understand that. So when the Most High is talking about his people being scattered, we were scattered all across the globe. This is why when you read certain books like Lost Tribes, The Promised Land, they were talking mainly about the Negroes and the Indians, because when they got to the Americas, it looked like the Sahara Desert. When you go through the Sahara Desert, you have a mixture of Negroes and Indians, and they look just like over in the American West Indies, okay, all the way to down South America. That's what they look like. So a good example would be Esther. When you read the book of Esther in the Bible, remember Xerxes was her husband, who was a Persian. And remember, she hid her identity. She didn't tell Xerxes the king what her identity was until it was necessary to save her people. So when you looked at Esther, she didn't look like a Negro woman. You know, sometimes you have some of our people, they look just like American Indians. And so we have different blends, different shades, different hair textures. So when you see that, you know, a lot of times you got to ask, oh, what's your nationality? And a lot of people are shocked when the person says, oh, I'm of Indian descent, or I'm of Negro descent. Even some of our women, or some of our men, or mainly the women, when you look at some of our women and they have straight hair, you're like, how do you have straight hair? And they be like, oh, my mom is black and my dad's black. That's all you understand. But you don't understand that our people were a speckled bird. When you talk about a speckled bird, a bird is speckled. Different shades. Okay, so you're not going to get the same look across the board. Let me read this real quick. This insert out of Lost Tribes and Promised Lands by Ronald Sanders. Okay, this book was printed in the 17th century. In the 18th century, I'm sorry. So, what I want to read is right here. It says, blessed. This is a racist Edomite talking about the New World land and how they had already preconceived to label people as to what they wanted them to be. Okay, so first I'm going to read page 356, and I'm going to drop down to the second paragraph, and it says, this is talking about during the slavery days. It says, one could not keep one's own in perpetual servitude, neither according to the Old Testament nor to English custom. But on the other hand, the Bible, Aristotle, and current international law all allowed the enslavement of strangers, which by now meant racial outsiders. Okay, that is to say, from Massachusetts in 1641, Negroes and Indians. So again, he's calling them racial outsiders. Okay, just like we read in the book of Josephus, what did he call them? They called them Indians. They called them foreigners. Just like in the scriptures, they call them what? Gentiles. Israelites who are in a Gentile state of mind. Okay, let me read another one. This is another negative and racist insert that they put in this book. I'm going to go to page 364. Listen to how he says this. I'm gonna start at page 363. It says, praying for salvation in his cell one day, he was reciting what was by then a standard formula. This is Montezinos. He went to jail because he was trying to tell everybody that the Negroes and the Indians were Israelites. But basically is what he was saying. It says, among New World Marinos, I can't say this word, Maranos, among New World Maranos, blessed be the name of the Lord who has, he's talking about himself, blessed be the name of the Lord who has not made me an idolater, a barbarian, a Negro, an Indian. When suddenly he stopped and he thought about his travels in the Americas. He says, those Indians, he told himself, they are Hebrews. Okay, so here he is pondering over the thought that, you know, these people that they were massacring and killing over in the Indies, what they called the Indies, which were really the Americas, they were Israelites. Okay, when you read the book Devastation of the Indies, it's a brief account of what happened. They were massacring the people. They were killing them. They were kicking their teeth out when they were picking up things and delivering, you know, they were carrying gold to the Spaniards and the conquistadors. They were beating them up. They were raping them. They were cutting off their arms and their legs and sicking dogs on them. Okay, well, a lot of the indigenous people just wanted to die. They didn't want to live anymore. It was too harsh to live to serve these wicked men. Okay, I'm going to read something out of the Devastation of the Indies. And this is a brief account of what was said. It was translated by Bartholomew de las Casas. It was translated from him. And this is what he said. He says, Your Majesty, we find out that there are no Christians in these lands. Instead, there are demons. There are neither servants of God or of the king, because in truth, the great obstacle to my being able to bring the Indians from war making to a peaceful way of life and to bring the knowledge of God to those Indians who are peaceful is the harsh and true. So here you got, this man is saying, first he called the Indians demons, then he said these people are peaceful. You see how he contradicts himself? He says, why would you conquer somebody that's peaceful? Okay, it says, harsh and cruel treatment of these Indians by the Spanish Christians. So who was bringing the cruelty to these people? It was the Spanish Christians. They would always throw Christianity out there. Oh, love your brother and love your sister. But when you look at history and you look at what they did, the conquistadors and the Spaniards, they were calling themselves Spanish Christians, and they were killing in the name of who? Not in the name of the Lord. They were killing in the name of the King of England or the King of Europe or the King of Spain. It says, for which Scarborough's and bitter reason no word can be more hateful to those Indians than the word Christian. They hated Christians. Why? Because they were massacring their children, their grandmothers and grandfathers. They were taking them out and having fun with them. They were possessed. It says, which they render in their language as Yaras, meaning demons. They had a nickname for Christians. They called them Yaras. And without a doubt, they are right, because the actions of these governors are neither Christian nor humane, but are actions of the devil. Now he's talking about his own people are devils. It says, hence, the Indians, seeing those vile actions of men so lacking in piety, they formed the idea that the Christians obey the laws of the devil, who is their God and King. This is what the Indians were saying. They said, these white men that come over here massacring us, they follow the laws of the devil. It says, and struggling as I do to persuade them of anything else is like trying to dry up the ocean. So when you read books like this, these books aren't easy to find. And so when brothers say, well, the Indians are not Israelites, well, they weren't called Indians. The so-called white men called them Indians. Okay? Esau called them Indians. Why? Because Christopher Columbus thought he had landed in India, but he had landed in the Americas. Okay? Totally different. And these Indians were of different shades of brown. They weren't just, you know, like a brown, light brown color. They were dark too. So they were massacring them. And this is right here in their books. God created all things. He also created men of the other nations. Even of Edomite nations, you have certain white folks that will write good things in their books about our people. Even in slavery, you had some white people that will help just free some slaves. So you can't discredit that Edomites won't help some of our people for God's given reason. Okay? So you have to understand, when you read these scriptures, the scriptures is not saying only the Negroes or the Israelites. That makes no sense. You're putting the Most High in a box. You can't do that. You can't discredit what the Most High has put on earth. Okay? You can't discredit what his future cause is. I'm going to read this real quick. Listen to this. This is what the Indians told him. 4, 5. This is when Montezumos had visited him. He said, when he was talking to these Indians that were here in the Americas, they didn't call themselves Indians here, but they told him this, and it was translated. It says, they told him that they were themselves of the tribe of Reuben. And we know the tribe of Reuben comes out of the 12 tribes of Israel. So they knew who they were. Then it says, and that the tribe of Joseph lived on an island nearby. Now the tribe of Joseph has 2 tribes within it, Ephraim and Manasseh, which we call the Cubans, okay, and the Puerto Ricans. And we call Reuben the Seminole Indians, okay. It says the day when they were at last to issue forth into the world was coming soon. They explained, but in the meantime they could not allow visitors to cross over to them. They were willing to make an exception in the near future. However, on account of the need for education, because they didn't have the ways or the technology that some of the white men had, you know, like lighting fires a certain way, having guns with bullets, they didn't have that. Having certain swords, some of the metalsmiths, the way they did things, they didn't have that knowledge. There was certain knowledge that they lost, that they forgotten, that wasn't taught to their children. Okay? Some brothers be like, well, it says in the scriptures that they will never forget their laws. Well, fool, your great-grandfather forgot the laws. You got our own people in these Christian churches don't even know the laws. It makes no sense. You brothers need to get some scholarship. Alright? Because what it makes you look like is unlearned. It says here, for though they spoke Hebrew, they could not read or write it. So they lost their skill in writing. They didn't know how to write. Not all of them, just some of them. So you'll see some inscriptions on some stones in certain parts of the Americas, North America, South America, Central America. You'll see some inscriptions. Some knew how to write, some didn't. Just like our people when we came over here in ships. All of us couldn't write. when we was in slavery. Only some of us could read. Frederick Douglass taught himself how to read, but his mother couldn't read. His father couldn't read or write. So get the understanding on that. It says, for though they spoke Hebrew, they could not read or write it. Would Montezino send them 12 bearded men to be their teachers? He said he would. The 4 strangers returned their canoe, paddled back across the river, and disappeared from view. Francisco told Montezimos all he knew about these people from his own traditions. His ancestors, to their eternal shame, had indeed made war on them and persecuted. So Montezimos is saying all he knew is that the Spaniards came over here and killed off these people. Just like we just read in Devastation of the Indies by Bartholomew de las Casas. That's what we remember. Now these are generations. Can you remember what your great-grandfather did? Can you remember? Can you remember what he sounded like? Can you remember how he acted? Can you remember the negative things that he did? Can you remember the dishonor that those individuals may have brought on their families? Can you remember that stuff? No. All you can remember is that they lived and died. Okay? And they may have left something behind. That's all you can remember. In these bodies that we live in today, there's discourse, there's broken hearts, there's all kinds of stuff that comes in this life. Okay, these little periods that we have living here on this earth. And we got to understand that during these times, we got to make the best out of it. And we got to go through the problems that we have. Just like our forefathers did. They had to go through these problems. I'm going to read, this is page 365. It says, his ancestors to their eternal shame had indeed made war on them and persecuted them. Only the sorcerers of his tribe had perceived that they were a special people. Who were the sorcerers of their tribes, of the so-called Montezimos and the Europeans? The sorcerers were their witch doctors, or their doctors that came down, or their priests that came down. Those were the sorcerers of the Spaniards. It says, and they had given warning that they should be left alone. It says, the God of these children of Israel is the true God, they had said. And everything inscribed on their tablets is true. So they had tablets, and they read their tablets. That's why they said, we need to leave them alone. And why are they saying leave them alone? Because when you read in the book of, just made me think about it. In the book of Hosea, it tells you, let me find it real quick. Right here. Hosea chapter 4, verse 16. For Israel, here it is. For Israel slideth back as a backsliding heifer. Now the Most High will feed them as a lamb in a large place. What's that large place? America. The large place wasn't in Africa. The large place wasn't in Europe. The large place wasn't in India. It was in a place where they had never been. It says that the Most High will feed them as a lamb in a large place. Then he says, Ephraim is joined to idols. Ephraim is the whole 10 tribes of Israel. It says, Ephraim is joined to idols. Let him alone. So the Most High is telling you what this man just said in his own book. This is how you pick out the bones. Okay? I'm going to read this again in this Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, page 365. It says, only the sorcerers of his tribe had perceived that they were a special people and had given warning that they should be left alone. So he knew that these were the 10 tribes of Israel. And based on the scriptures, his thoughts and his words match up with what the scriptures are saying, because the Most High put that spirit on this man to say what he said, which matches up with the scriptures. It says, Ephraim is joined to idols, leave him alone. Okay? So what were the idols that they had? Who knows? Yeah, they were speaking Hebrew. Yeah, they had fringes on. Yeah, they knew who they were. But guess what? They were joined to idols, just like in the book of 2 Kings, chapter 12, with Rehoboam and Jeroboam. They were joined to idols too. They had 2 calves that they worshiped. It's the same thing. Most High tells you in Hosea 4, my people are lost for a lack of knowledge. Therefore I will forget them That's why our people, northern and southern and central countries don't know the Most High. That's why we have to teach them. Our job is just to gather them. That's it. Gather them, teach them, let them know who they are. Tell them to worship Hamashiach YAHAWAH. Let's go to, let me finish reading this. It says, at the end of days, they will be lords of all the nations of the earth. So why is this whole called white man saying at the end of days they will be lords over all the nations of the earth? Because the Most High says that his people will inherit the earth. This is one nation will come bringing many things to this land. That's in the scriptures too. And after we have all been provided for, these children of Israel will go forth from where they now are and reign over the whole earth as they once did. Now, is the 12 tribes of Israel together today? No. The 12 tribes of Israel are not together today. The Most High is going to have to bring them back together. Man can't do it. All we could do is gather. Okay? Man takes it into vain concepts. But you got to understand, you got to let the Most High do his work. Let's go to Isaiah 45. Yes, the Negroes are waking up, but the rest of the tribes are going to wake up too. He says that Judah will wake up first. That's what he says in scriptures. Judah is going to wake up first, and they're going to hear the voice of the Most High through Judah, and they're all going to wake up. It's going to be on his time, though, not on your time. Isaiah 45 and 17. It says, but Israel shall be saved in the Lord with the everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. It says, ye shall not be ashamed. Our people are ashamed. Our people that are of Native American, Indian, and Latino descent are ashamed of their own heritage. They're taking on the so-called white man's heritage. They don't know their heritage. They're ashamed in their spirit. They don't know who they are. It says, nor confounded. Are our people confused? Even our own people, the Southern Kingdom, they're confused. They're confounded. That's why you don't see many brothers. You see brothers teaching, but it ain't many of them. Predominantly YouTube is probably the only source. That Facebook and Instagram are probably the only ones that push that truth out. And it's not a prominent thing where like you just enter something and it pops up. You gotta specifically put the exact words in for it to pop up. That's why it's not just gonna be a social, a social media thing. You gotta get out there and teach people. Okay, it says, ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. World without end. It says, for thus saith the Most High that created the heavens. Thus saith the Most High that created the heavens, the Most High himself that formed the earth and made it. He hath established it. He created it, not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. This whole earth was created for Israel's sake. This is, I am the most, and not just for Israel's sake, for his sake, for the Most High's sake. Israel is just a vessel. That's it. It says, he created it not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. I am the Lord, and there is none else. So there's nobody else we should be worshiping besides the Most High and the Son, Hamashiach. Hamashiach is doing the work of his Father. Okay? It says, I have not spoken in secret in a dark place of the earth, like we read in Job. The Most High sees what's going on. I said not unto the seed of Jacob. I read it again. I said not unto the seed of Jacob, seek me in vain. And a lot of brothers seek the Most High in vain. They want vain glory. They want their name posted all over the place. Okay? You'll see some of these videos, such and such nukes the whole city of something with the Bible. It's not about your name. Your name is not important. It's his name. His name is important. It says, I, the Most High, speak of righteousness. I declare things that are right. Brothers get creative when they do YouTube videos or Facebook channels or whatever, and they put such and such will take down the whole city of Oakland with the Most High's word. Your name is not important. It says, So everything is in vain when it comes to man. Okay, let's go to Isaiah 49. Isaiah 49 and 1. Listen, O isles. Okay, so the isles are islands. Listen, like West Indies, like we said, the West Indies. Those are islands. Listen, O isles, unto me, and hearken ye people from far. The Most High have called me from the womb, from the bowels of my mother hath he made mention of my name. Okay, and he have made my mouth like a sharp sword. In the shadow of his hand hath he hid me, and made me a polished shaft. In his quiver hath he hid me, and said unto me, Thou art my servant, O Israel. Now, what name did you hear? All I heard was Israel, in whom I will be glorified. Why? Israel has the Most High's name in it. When you say Yashar'Allah, Yah is Yahawah. That's the Most High's name. And when you hear Shar'Allah, that means a prince of. Who are we a prince of? Yahawah. So it's not even our own name. It's only Israel. Verse 4. Then I said, I have labored in vain. See that? So think about, before you came into the truth, was you laboring in vain? Going to these Christian churches? And when you go to those Christian churches, you hear the Most High's name, but you hear I too. I. I did this for the Most High. I did that for the Most High. Okay? Let him be the judge. This is, then I said, see that? Then I said, I have labored in vain. I have spent my strength for naught and in vain. You got brothers in the truth to do that. Okay? They don't speak on behalf of the Most High. It says, yet surely my judgment is with the Most High, and my work with my power. Now look at when you repent. This is the verse that's going to change you. When you repent, first let's go back to Isaiah 43 and 19. 43 and 19. I'm sorry, 45 and 19. Shlaki, 45 and 19. This is, I have not spoken in secret in a dark place of the earth. I said not unto the seed of Jacob, seek me in vain. I, the Most High, speak righteousness. I declare things that are right. So again, do not speak your name in vain. Okay? Don't consider yourself a general and speak yourself in vain. And have everybody else calling your name before they call the Most High and the Son's name. It's not important. It's all about the Most High. Verse 20. Assemble yourselves and come. Draw near together, ye that are escaped of the nations. Who's escaped of the nations? All these brothers who are over here in the Americas and in Africa and even parts of India, parts of Myanmar, parts of China, parts of Japan. You got brothers all over the world, to the four corners of the earth. Okay? Draw near together, ye that are escaped of the nations. They have no knowledge that set up the wood of their graven image. And pray unto a God that cannot save. Don't pray to these idols. Tell ye and bring them near. Yea, let them take counsel together. Who have declared this from ancient time? Who did that? The Most High. Who have told it from that time? Have not I the Most High? And there is no power else beside me, a just power and a Savior. There is none beside me. Now, some brothers' mindsets, when they're like, when they don't believe, there's a lot of brothers who are Old Testament Israelites who don't believe in the New Testament. So they'll look at that and they'll be like, see, it says that there's no Savior beside him. They'll be like, see, there's no Christ beside him. Well, we all know that the Most High controls everything, just like he has angels. Can the Most High set one above another? Sure. Did he set Solomon above the children of Israel? Sure. Did he set David above the children of Israel? Yes. So YAHAWAH is the son that he set above the rest of the creation. So yes, we have to go through him to get to the Father. That's all it means. The Father is the alpha male. You can't get past him. But you got to believe in his son. And you got to believe in what? His word. It says, look unto me and be ye saved, all the ends of the earth, for I am the Most High. For there is none else. I have sworn by myself, the word is gone out of my mouth in righteousness, and shall not return, that unto me every knee shall bow, and every tongue shall swear. Surely shall one say in the Most High, have I righteousness and strength? Even to him shall men come, and all that are incensed against him shall be ashamed. Don't follow no man. Yes, you can learn from a man. That's no problem. Yes, you could get up under a man, but don't worship him. The Most High says to seek after a wise man, to learn the ways of the Most High. But don't praise him to the point where he's everything and you can't move unless he tells you to. Okay? You still have opportunity to pray to the Most High yourself through YAHAWAH. Okay? You still have an opportunity to make decisions on your own through Ahchyam YAHAWAH to the Father. Most High bestow wisdom on you, but when you need wisdom and understanding, and you don't have the proper understanding because you haven't been in the truth very long, you need to seek after a wise man who's been in the truth longer than you. It's just Brother Yahar did a class on that about the aged hoary men, and it was a good class. You should listen to it. It talks about the difference between young men and old men, okay, with wisdom. Verse 25. In the Most High shall all the seed of Israel be justified, and shall glory. So you got to understand, all of us are going to have to praise the Most High. We all going to have to assemble. Let's go back to Isaiah 49 and 5. Isaiah 49 and 5. And now saith the Most High that formed me from the womb, to be his servant, to bring Jacob again to him. See, a lot of us have jobs to do on this earth. When we were created in our mother's womb, the Most High put a signet on our brains to do one thing, and that's to teach the truth. It's a spirit that controls you that you have there's nothing you can do to stop it. You got to teach it. And while the rest of the world are doing other things, when they see you teaching it, they think something's wrong with you, but it's a spirit that the Most High put on your soul to teach the word. Don't ignore it. It says, though Israel be not gathered, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of the Lord, and my Most High shall be my strength. Okay? So what is that strength? It's rest. He's going to be your rest. Let's go to Luke. Because when you read that verse again, it says, though Israel be not gathered, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of the Lord. In other words, you're not going to gather all the tribes of Israel. You may try to gather all of them, but you're not going to be the one to do it. You may do a portion, but the Most High only has a quota. He has a quota on every man to reach a certain limit. Okay? You can't force that hand. If he only created you to wake up 10 people, then that's what he created you to do. If he created you to wake up 100 people, then that's what he created you to do. You can't force his hand. There's a quota. It's just like certain athletes can only do certain things. Some athletes can't do everything. Michael Jordan could do everything. Kobe Bryant could do a lot of things. Okay, LeBron could do. When you look at the other players, they can't do as many things as some of those players. A form of a gift that help them do certain things. Let's go to Luke 9. Everybody is not made the same way. So you can pray on certain things to happen at a given moment. Okay, there's sometimes the Most High, so to speak, the sun will shine on your ass or on your butt for you to do something spectacular. It's only that moment the Most High may give you. Okay, you may not be able to do that all the time. It might just be a moment in time. So you have to understand that too. Let's go to Luke chapter 9, verse 49. And it says, and John answered and said, Master, we saw one casting out devils in thy name, and we forbid him, because he followeth not with us. And Yahushua said unto him, forbid him not, for he that is not against us is for us. So did you hear the words of Yahushua? They were casting out devils. He didn't stop them. He let them continue to do it, because why? They were born of the same vessel to teach the truth, to gather the nations of Israel. You can't prevent them from doing that. When you come up with some new doctrine to prevent brothers from doing certain things, you are working against the tide of the Most High. If the Most High is saying, go out there and wake up the 12 tribes of Israel, and the brother got a chart, and he's going off that chart, don't stop it. Let it keep going. It's a spirit that the Most High put on brothers to do research and come out with that information. Okay? We're gathering. Let's go to Matthew 9 and 38. So Yahushua didn't stop him. Now if he's going to let's see. Let's go to Matthew 9 and 38. Matthew chapter 9, verse 38. It says, pray ye therefore that the Most High of the harvest, that he will send forth laborers into his harvest. So that's the whole key. The more laborers, the better. It's only a few laborers. If you stop laborers from doing their job, from teaching the work, or doing the work, there's going to be fewer and fewer laborers. If you throw a speed bump in the way to try to prevent them, guess what? You don't have to answer to the Most High. Here you are stopping them from getting the work done. Who do you think is going to come and slay you? It's going to be the Most High. We've seen brothers come time and time again with some new doctrine after they don't learn the truth, and then went out there and tried to teach it and came to naught. Didn't finish doing what they were supposed to do. So don't stop this. Our job is to gather. Let's go back to Isaiah 49. Isaiah 49. Isaiah 49 verse 6. And he said, it is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob, and to restore the preserved of Israel. I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles, that thou mayest be my salvation unto the end of the earth. Just like we just read in that Lost Tribes and Promised Land. It said, the author said that their sorcerer says at the end of the earth the children of Israel will be lords over everyone. Just like it's saying here in the scriptures. So the Most High is telling us to gather, and he said it is a light thing to tell them who they are. It's a light thing to tell them that they're from the tribes of Israel. That's very, very light. The main thing is telling them that, then showing them the laws, statutes, and commandments, and then the salvation of the Son, the Mashiach Yahushua. That's the heavy thing. The light thing is telling them who they are. Very, very light. Okay? Verse 7. Thus saith the Most High, the Redeemer of Israel, and his Holy One, to him whom man despiseth. Why? Because most people hate the Most High because they don't keep his feast days. Everybody was doing Thanksgiving and all this other stuff the other day. They don't really know the Most High. They despise of him. They don't want to read his book. You know, they don't care. A book will sit on the dresser for days and days and days without anyone touching it. Even if it's open, people won't even look at it. They'll walk right by it. That's like a form of ignoring his word. It says, to him whom the nation abhorreth. They look at the word and they make a sign like, I ain't reading that. It says, to a servant of rulers, kings shall see and arise. Princes also shall worship. This is when we come back into the state of the kingdom. Okay, when we come into the kingdom, all these people are going to awaken. It says, kings shall see arise. princes also shall worship, because of the Lord that is faithful, and the Holy One of Israel, and he shall choose you. Okay, he's going to do the choosing. But all these people, once Israel awakens, everybody that used to ignore the book are going to try to learn from the book. Just like when that fire jumped off here in California, do you know how many people start looking for the Bible? People only search for the Bible when they need it, when they're in trouble. Okay, it's the only time they start praying to the Most High. They don't pray to the Most High for anything else until they're in trouble. And then when the destruction hit, guess what? They're mad at the Most High. They didn't trust him in the beginning, and they didn't trust him in the end. They're mad at him, like, how could you do this? I prayed to you when the destruction was here. Well, he tells you that he will laugh at your calamity if you don't seek him early. He tells you to seek him early. Okay? If you don't seek him early, he will laugh at you. He will laugh at your destruction. People forget that. They don't read, so they don't know that's in the Bible. It's in the scriptures. Verse 8. Thus saith the Most High, in an acceptable time have I heard thee, and in the day of salvation have I helped thee. And I will preserve thee and give thee for a covenant of the people, to establish the earth, to cause to inherit the desolate heritage. What's the desolate heritage? Who has the heritage today in today's society? The so-called white man. Esau owns everything. You can't mistakenly say that it ain't him, because if he wasn't ruling, then who's going to take over it next? Who's the second person in charge if they ain't ruling? Because all I see is Esau everywhere. You turn on the TV, Esau. Turn on the radio, Esau. You go where money is, Esau. You go on vacation, Esau. Everywhere you look is Edomites. They control everything. They have the medicine, they have the sorcery, they have the technology. You have to seek after Esau for everything. Okay? That's the days that we're living in. Let's go to Matthew 13. Matthew chapter 13, verse 33. So we're going to take over the desolate places. How? By Ahchyam Hamashiach Yahushua. When the kingdom comes, by Ahchyam Hamashiach Yahushua. We're going to take it. By how? Studying the scriptures. Teaching the scriptures. Matthew 13 and 33. Another parable he unto them. The kingdom of heaven is like unto leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal, till the whole was leavened. Now this is a small verse, and he didn't even have to explain it. He didn't have to explain it. He just said the verse, and that was it. If you look at all other parables, he explained each one of them. But this particular verse, or this particular parable, it was one verse. Basically, he's saying it's just like the kingdom of heaven is going to be so overwhelming that it's going to take over everything. That's how it's going to be. It's the only parable he didn't expound on. Why? Because it's clear. He said to what? Just gather the tribes. Who's going to do the separating? He is. All our job is to do is to gather. Let's go to Romans 16. Look at Romans real quick. Romans chapter 16, and let's go to verse 17. Romans 16 and 17. It reads, Now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions and offenses, contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid them. Now all of us, most of us then came into the truth how? Most of us then came into the truth by Deuteronomy 28:68. Most of us woke up, couldn't believe the slave ships was in there. Or the curses, couldn't believe that the curses, everything we're going through is in the scriptures. Okay? He tells us to mark them, they cause division of what? Of doctrine. Because you came in understanding Deuteronomy 28, the curses of breaking the laws, So you know you have to keep the laws. You know you have to believe in the Son. And when you saw the laws, when you saw the curses, you automatically knew that you was an Israelite. Normally, most of us saw the chart, saw the 12 tribe breakdown. Most of us came into the truth that way. So the scriptures tells you only time to mark division, not separate, but to mark division, is when these brothers come in with different doctrine, contrary to what you've already learned. He says get away from them. But he never ever tells us to what? Separate, because he will do that. Most of us came in with that same understanding, like I said. And Ezekiel 37, when it talks about Ezekiel 37, that's part of Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Even the chart. Alright? So the laws was expounded. And then the laws was expounded after you heard the curses, and then you understood Christ. And then you knew what you were supposed to do. You were on your way. Let's go back to Romans 16 and 17. It says, now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause division and offices, contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid them. So our job is to do what? Avoid those brothers. They bring in something totally brand new, perverted. Okay? Like some of these brothers say, oh, the Negroes are the Israelites. That's perverted judgment. Come on now. That's perverted. Yes, we are experiencing the curses at a high rate. But yes, the other tribes are too. They're going through the same thing. And yes, we have to understand the Spaniards conquered a lot of the people down there and mixed in. So we can't look at someone based on their face and say, look, you're not part of Israel. Because through their heritage, their great-grandfather could have possibly been an Israelite. Or their great-great-grandfather. And the Spirit testifies who they are. The Spirit. Let's go to Luke 13. If they believe this word, then guess what? You better not forsake them. Luke chapter 13, verse 20. And again he said, whereunto shall I liken the kingdom of the Most High? It is like leaven, which a woman took. A lot of you brothers and sisters don't know what leaven is. If you're a baker, leaven is what you put into a cake. You only can put so much leaven. If you put too much, that leaven is going to rise when you put it in the oven under heat. And it's going to overtake that whole cake. So that's what he's talking about, leaven. Our doctrine, our people, our understanding of the scriptures is going to overtake the world. It says, it is like leaven which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal till the whole was leavened. Okay, so understand that. Matthew, let's go to Matthew 22 and 9. Matthew 22 and 9. This is a good one because it goes into that too. This is also showing you how the Most High don't want us to really separate. He wants us to gather and continue to grow and only mark those who cause divisions. Those who come in and then they turn reprobate. Reprobate meaning they walk away from the truth or go into something else. And take people with them into that doctrine and leave them at a worse state than what they were before they came into the truth. Matthew 22 and 9. Go ye therefore into the highways, and as many as you shall find, bid to the marriage. So that's what you see when we go out there and we teach. It says, so those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all as many as they found, both bad and good. And the wedding was furnished with guests. Okay, so we're going to get all kinds of people to furnish this house of the Most High. And the Most High is going to do the separating. Let's see, it says, and when the king, who's the king, YAHAWAH, came in to see the guests, he saw there a man which had not on a wedding garment. What's that wedding garment? That wedding garment is the understanding of the law, statutes, and commandments, and who Christ came to die for. And he said unto him, friend, how camest thou in hither, not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless. Then said the king to the servants, bind him hand and foot, and take him away, and cast him into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. They're going to throw him out. So this is the same thing that the angels are going to do when they come to separate. This is, for many are called, but few are chosen. So even those brothers who are truly Israelites, if they're a wicked people, they ain't gonna make it into the kingdom. Why would the Most High let somebody wicked totally into the kingdom? He gonna throw them out. Let's go to Matthew chapter 25. Matthew 25 and 31. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, who is the Son of Man, YAHAWAH, and all the holy angels with him. This is the same parable as what we just read in Matthew 22, 9 through 14. It's the same thing. He's just giving you similitudes. Okay? When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, the Son of Man in this particular parable is the king that was in Matthew chapter 22. It says, and all the holy angels with him. Then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory, and before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, who is the sheep, the children of Israel, but the goats on the left. Who are the goats? The Gentile nations and those Israelites who don't believe. Verse 34. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, come ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. Alright, so this is what he's going to do for his people and those servants. Okay, remember this. This is how he will judge the tribes. This is how he's going to judge them. Let's go to 2nd Ezra. 2nd Ezra chapter 8 in the Apocrypha. And let's read verse 38. 2nd Ezra chapter 8, verse 38. This is how he's going to judge. And it reads, for indeed I will not think on the disposition of them which have sinned before death, before judgment, before destruction. Why is he saying I will not think on the disposition of them which have sinned before death, before judgment, before destruction? Why is he saying that? Because the Most High don't care. If you're not keeping his laws, he ain't thinking about you. Why should he be concerned about you when you ain't trying to keep the laws? You know how they say in the Christian churches? They say that the Most High loves you no matter what you do. That's not what the scriptures say. The scriptures say the opposite. The scriptures say that he leads his children of Israel to water. Now if you get the understanding of who you are, that's one thing. If you get the understanding that salvation is through his son, Hamashiach Yahushua, that's another thing. Okay, now if you start keeping the laws, guess what? The Most High watches you and remembers you. He hears your prayers. Okay, it says, for indeed I will not think on the disposition of them which have sinned before death, that's those who are living, before judgment, okay, that's those who die and getting ready for judgment day, and before destruction. What is destruction? Destruction is when he throws you into the lake of fire. Verse 39, but I will rejoice over the disposition of the righteous. He's telling you right there, according to Judges 7, Psalm 7:11. He said he's angry with the wicked and he judges the righteous every day. He says, but I will rejoice over the disposition of the righteous, and I will remember also their pilgrimage. What is their pilgrimage? It's your travels in teaching this word. That's your pilgrimage. You come to this truth, you are a pilgrim to bring other people into the truth. It says, and the salvation and the reward that they shall have. Like as I have spoken now, so shall it come to pass. For as the husbandman soweth much seed upon the ground, and planteth many trees, and yet the thing that is sown good in his season cometh not up, neither doth all that is planted take root. So he's telling you that there's a lot of people who are going to wake up and go astray, that are not going to take root in this word. But there are going to be brothers who's going to be rooted, and they're going to grow, and they're not going to be very easy to be moved or dismayed or led astray. It says, even so is it of them that are sown in the world. They shall not all be saved. See that? Everyone is not going to be saved. Verse 42. I answered then and said, if I have found grace, let me speak. Who's saying this? Ezra's. Like as the husbandman's seed perish, if it cometh not up, and receive not thy rain in due season, or if there come too much rain and corrupt it, even so perish man also, which is formed with thy hands, and is called thine own image, because thou art like unto him. For whose sake thou hast made all things, and liken him unto the husbandman's seed. Be not wroth with us. This is Ezra's talk to the Most High. It says, be not angry with Israel, but spare thy people, and have mercy upon thine own inheritance. For thou art merciful unto thy creatures. So Ezra is standing up, just like Moses stood up for the children of Israel when they were in the wilderness, creating idols and doing evil things. He told the Most High, don't forget your promise. Remember you promised the nation of Israel would be a great nation? So Ezra is doing the same thing here. Look at verse 46. Then answered he me. Okay, so Ezra is really speaking to the Most High, but he's speaking to the Most High through an angel. Okay, so the angel is the voice of the Most High speaking to Ezra. So the angel said to Ezra, then answered he me and said, things present are for the present, and things to come for such as be to come. For thou comest far short, that thou shouldest be able to love my creature more than I. So the Most High is telling Ezra, how dare you say that you love Israel more than me? And it says, but I have oftentimes drawn near unto thee, and unto it, but never to the unrighteous. In this also thou art marvelous before the Most High, talking about his people, in that thou hast humbled thyself as it becometh thee, and hast not judged thyself worthy to be much glorified among the righteous. Ezra is not considering himself a worthy man, but the Most High is seeing Ezra's righteousness shine through him, about his humility and his contriteness and his love for the Most High's people. And the Most High is seeing that, and he's making a statement saying, look, I appreciate what you're doing. Verse 50, for many great misery shall be done to them that in the latter time shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride. There's that great pride again. So there's a lot of brothers here today who have great pride on bringing divisions, on stating that brothers are teaching, these are new people coming into the doctrine, stating that brothers have been teaching false doctrines. And these brothers don't even know the truth, don't even know the word, don't even know history, don't know scholarship, and very prideful towards brothers who have been in it a long time. So, with that, I'm going to say, you brothers need to wake up, understand that the truth is much greater than you brethren, and that the Most High, he has mercy on Israel, but he also has mercy on his people who are scattered, that don't look like you or me. For example, in China, you're going to have brothers that look just like the Chinese, okay, that have been, their fathers been living in China for over 10 centuries, and eventually got watered down into looking Chinese. So you can tell that brother, no, he can't come into the truth? It's not your job to say that. Okay, so the vanity of man needs to stop. The vanity of pride needs to stop. We have to understand that the law, statutes, commandments are here, and that the Most High governs all things. Okay, that's why we always ask, who is your forefather? Who is your father? Who is your mother? We always say that. Okay, and then we look at the chart and we tell them, pursuant to Ezekiel 37, you are the children of Israel. We always say that. And then when brothers can't figure it out, we be like, well, your spirit testifies, if you keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, then you'd be of the tribes, then you're of Israel. Okay, so that's what we roll with. And this lesson really wasn't supposed to go this long. It was really only supposed to be about 10 minutes, but the spirit jump on you, you start to teaching and talking, and next thing you know, you done spoke for over an hour. So hope this helps you brothers and sisters out there, and I'm going to say shalom. Peace and blessings.
Lord of hosts. I took you from the pastures and from following the sheep to be prince over my people Israel. I have been with you wherever you have gone, and have destroyed all the enemies in your path. I will make you a great name among the great ones of the earth. I will assign a place for my people in Israel. There I will plant them, and they shall dwell in their own land.